Hello everybody, welcome to a new video. So I have three knives over here. We have the Nordic knife design Forester, we have the Brisa Trapper and the Joker Trampero, which also means trapper. And Nordic knife design is actually a sort of like spin-off company from Brisa. I believe the former co-owner started his own company, so the designs are very similar indeed. So let's look at the sheets to start with, to see what the differences are if you are considering buying any of these knives. Nordic knife design has the simplest sheath. I mean, really nice leather, nice stitching, 2 rivets, and only has a dangler for your belt, and it sits nice and deep in the sheath. And the retention is a little bit loose, but that's because I put other knives in the sheath as well. Alright, so let's look at the Brisa. As you can see, it has a nice thick leather as well. Stitching, 1 rivet, sort of like a very small drain hole. The Nordic knife design has none, by the way. And it has a dangler as well as a belt loop there. So that is a little bit of a sort of like an upgrade from the other sheath. And then the Joker knife. This one has grommets, so you can use lanyard to secure it. Double stitching, a little bit more beef to the sheath. Nice thick leather as well, nice finish, a little bit shallower in the sheath. And this one comes with both a belt loop and a dangler, and that is also removable with this. I will move that around a little bit with this ring that you can open, so you can remove that. That I think is a nice feature. You can also, of course, then put this on another sheath. And the dangler itself is also removable with snappers, so you can remove that from your belt if you like. Okay, so the retention of the Brisa is pretty decent. It's yeah, nice and tight in there, and the retention of the Joker knife is a little bit loose, but it's okay. It's in there, and this one is quite loose, but I used a custom number 10 in this sheath, and so therefore it's not quite honest. So let's take the knives out. So let's look at the obvious. They're all very similar in size. They are really close in specifications, and I think this is the right order. The Brisa, the Nordic knife design, is the thickest, the heaviest, sort of like the thickest, let me put it that way. The Joker is in between everything, length, etc. And the Brisa is the smallest, but it's really small differences. But let's start with the fire steel and see if they can throw sparks. Alright, so let's clean it up first a little bit with the scraper. Okay, it's nice and clean now. So Nordic knife design, let's see if that throws sparks. It really does, effortless. Yeah, alright, so that's a good one. The Joker, yeah, I would say pretty easy as well. Oh, burn spot here. And the Brisa, wow. Yeah, the Brisa, let me try this one again. I would say the Joker does the least sparks. And the Nordic knife design and the Brisa are very similar. Throw really good sparks, and the Joker does throw sparks, but it could be a little bit sharp. Oh, broke it again. Could be a little. Oh, now it doesn't throw at all. Where is the? Yeah, it does throw sparks, but not as easy as the other two. Alright, so let's do a little batoning. Again, we're not gonna do heavy batoning, but you know, pieces like this that you wanna break down to some kindling. Start with the Nordic knife design. This is the thickest knife with the drop point. So let's see. Really dry wood. Well, I have to say that is really easy. I mean, it takes it like Yeah, really nice. All right, pretty good, and the edge is really decent still. I don't see any weird stuff. Now this is 80 chrome V2 steel. That is tough as nails. So all right, so let's go to the Joker. The Joker knife is the in-between blade. I think that was 4.2. This is 3.7 mil. All right, took a little bit of effort getting in, but oh wow, that splits out. So it's a little bit harder to get into the wood, but once it's in, it really splits out the wood really nice. This one has a spear point, obviously. It's the Trampero. This is 14C28 steel, and looks really fine. Also really tough. I think somewhat similar in toughness to the 80 chrome V2. And this is the Brisa. Let's see. Now this is N690 steel, something like that. Can you read that?
N690 Co.
Oh yeah, N690 Cobalt or whatever. Or let's see how it batons. It's a little bit the smallest knife, by the way, and the thinnest. All right, I think 3.4 millimeters, but it does the job. It does pretty good. Splits out as well. You need a little bit more force, but not bad at all. One piece, final piece. And well, you get your kindling. Fair enough, right? All right, it does the job. Let's look at the edge. I don't see any. I see a little bit of scratching, but nothing fancy. Nothing happened to the edge. All right, so I say for the batoning, I would give it to the Forester. I think the Nordic knife design and the other knife, the Brisa, the Joker and the Brisa are very close, but this one splits the best. But this is the thickest blade, so it was to be expected. All right, so let's go to the feather sticking. I have to mention a few viewers because I'm actually making this video after a request of, I believe it's Milwaukee 5487, and he said, could you do a comparison between the Forester and the Brisa? And I threw in the Joker Trampero as an extra because they are very similar knives. And I also got a tip from another guy, Nick D2458 or something, and he gave me a few tips on feather sticking. And he basically said, well, you know, if you grab the knife, so let's go and try that out. If you grab the knife, point it a little bit towards your knuckle, just keep it loosely, grip it, and just let the knife slide down, and then as you squeeze, you can do the angle a little bit, and then you can really get to those fine curls, because I was always hacking down with the knife, and as you can see, it really can make fine curls. So just looser and not so tight, and then the squeeze. Oh, that went too deep. Now this knife has the tendency to bite, and I already found out when I did the other comparison. But if you take the time and you practice this a little bit, so a little bit more patience, then you do get fine curls. Oh well, still need some practice. All right, so that is the Forester. It does make fine curls if you take the time for it. The rest kind of broke off. Not that I'm gonna use it, so leave it. Now let's try the next knife, the Joker. That one is a little bit thinner. I just wonder. All right, so we'll loosen up. All right. Well, it feather sticks. It wants to slide over the wood a little bit more than the Forester. Gives you a little bit easier feather sticks, but it feather sticks as well. Alright, let's do the Brisa, the thinnest of them all, lightest and the thinnest handle also. Alright, so let's just see how this one does. Finding the angle. Oh. Alright, well, again, I'm not the best feather sticker in the world, but it feathers. So, let me say in easiness, I don't really find a difference, except that the Nordic knife design wants to bite in a little bit quicker. And the Joker and the Brisa, well, feel very similar in feather sticking. So, let's take off some chunks. Now this is really dry wood. Okay, let's try the Brisa. Yeah, very similar. Nordic knife design. Yeah, this one really wants to dig in. You can take off really bigger chunks very easy. Alright, let's see. Alright, the Brisa. Well, it's harder. This one really struggles a little bit more. Joker. Oh, better. Wants to bite in also. Yeah. Okay. Okay. If I have to choose for feather sticking, chunking, and whatever, I would choose. I think the Joker. The handle is also really comfortable, and the Forester are really close, and the Brisa feels the least comfortable. Just look at the handle, and you can see what I mean. Now I have large hands, and you can see. Look how thin this is. It really feels like a kitchen knife almost. This one has a little bit more beef, and the Joker has the most volume in the handle. So you feel that right away. Nicer, and it becomes more of a challenge keeping hold of this. All right, maybe another little test to put some mileage. Just make, I don't know, stick, and you want to make a 10 stake. Just to see how that would go. So let's start with the Joker knife. This is fresh wood, by the way, so, or green, or what would you call it? Let's say we want to make a point. As usual, not too fancy. Well, pointy, and a notch. So maybe cut in a little bit. Nice. The handle definitely is really comfortable. You know, again, nothing special, but all right, fine. Let's do. No, well, let's take the Brisa. All right. Now, well, that does it pretty decent. It cuts. Yeah, let's do a notch here. All right. This is where the thinner blade really, you know, shines a little bit better than with the other tasks. The handle is not really comfortable for my hands, at least. It's too thin. But you know, you can do a 10 stake. And last but not least, the Nordic knife design. A little bit bigger branch, but I know this thing can handle that. Look at that. I mean, it just pieces. It just digs in like crazy. All right, a little bit more subtle to get that point. All right, let's do a notch. If you want to make a figure 4 trap or something, I guess that would be easy enough. I mean, here you go. Another tent stake, if you would like that. All right, so I think that is it for the outside things. Let's go inside and do the other things. Basically, we're going to say, what if you're going to do a little bit of food prepping while you're camping and whatever. So let's start with an obvious one, an onion. So the Brisa, the thinnest, just yeah, okay. Okay. The Joker, same onion. All right. Okay, it does cut. Maybe this one off a little bit. The Nordic knife, maybe get another onion for 1 minute. All right, so let's cut. Okay, I'm getting the hang of it a little bit. We have to cut a little bit in with these candies. All right, Brisa. Well, I think I can say for sure that they all suck at it. They just don't really cut really well. I mean, they're not food preppers. I know that, but so I mean, can it be done? Yeah. Ooh. All right. Yeah, all right. But I have to say that the thinner blade of the Brisa isn't really excelling. Nordic knife design. This one is splitting a little bit more. But I think between the Brisa and the Joker, I don't really feel a lot of difference. So, all right. Let's do some rope. All right. Let's do the Brisa first. So 1, 2, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, it does cut. Let's do the Joker. 1, 2, 7, 8, 9. A lot easier. The blades are also a little bit wet from the carrot. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 9, 10. Well, I would say they all cut, but I think the Nordic knife design cuts the easiest, and then the Joker, and then the Brisa. Maybe some fat wood. Scrape that. Remember that. Maybe you want to skin a fish or something, I don't know, scrape off the outer skin. Alright, Brisa, nice. Joker. Ooh, yeah. Definitely sharper spine. And the Nordic knife design. Ooh, lovely, 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 lovely. Yeah. Ooh, that smells nice. Okay, so the food prepping. I mean, it's not. They're not ideal, either of them. You know, don't use them for food prepping. They just don't do it very well. But if you have to, I would say the Joker is actually doing pretty decent. The Nordic knife design cuts really good through rope. And the Brisa, yeah, it's the finest slicer of them all, but it's not excelling either. It is sharp, but okay. So that was that for a little bit of food prepping. I mean, it just gives you an impression. There's nothing scientific about it. It just shows you that it, you know, it can be done, but it's not going to be comfortable. Let's go to the conclusion. I kept a little bit of a score for myself, and so overall, actually, the Joker knife comes out on top, being all round a pretty decent knife. And second place, the Nordic Knife Design, and third place, the Brisa. But let me go over the specific items so you can make your choice accordingly. So when it comes to the sheath, the Joker knife is the best option for you because it has the best sheath all around. Let's get to the knives. In terms of steel, the Nordic Knife Design has the AT Chrome V2 steel. Now that is tough as nails and it's bomb-proof basically. They use it for their army knives, and it's Swedish saw blade steel, which is really good. But it doesn't really excel in edge retention, and so when I tested it on paper again, this one was actually struggling a bit, and the 14C28 was actually doing pretty decent. But the best edge retention, although it wasn't as sharp from the beginning, was the N690 Cobalt or whatever it is, and this actually kept its edge very well, and that was to be expected because I think it's the steel that keeps the best edge overall, but it's not as tough as the other steels. So there is the trade-off between edge retention and toughness. All right, but anyway, if you're looking at the handle, I think if you have reasonably large hands, you go for the Joker knife because the handle is by far the thickest overall, and also here in front it has the more beefy handle at the places where you have the most pressure. So this really is a great handle overall. Second place, I would say the handle, I would give it to the Nordic Knife Design because it has the most volume there, and the thinnest handle, feeling actually a little bit, I don't know, flimsy, I don't know, it's really thin. I really look at my hands, it's covering the whole blade. I don't have much left, whereas the same goes for the Nordic Knife Design, but still it has a little bit of volume there. And the Joker knife actually gives me a lot of, a little bit of play, a little bit of room here with that broomsticky handle, which is actually quite nice with the Kephart style blade. There is one other thing to consider, and that is the pommel. Both knives from Brisa and the Nordic Knife Design have that sharpish back here. So if you're doing a lot of food prepping kind of cutting, this really pushes into your hand. I can feel it as I'm showing it. I can already feel it. That is really painful in the long run. If you make bow drills and stuff like that, that is going to be really annoying. So in terms of the pommel for bushcrafting, I would give it to the Joker. Then the blades, like I said, they are very similar in the specs. They really don't differ much. They're all within that 4-inch. The Brisa being a little under 4-inch, this one being practically 4-inch. The Joker being practically 4-inch, and the Nordic Knife Design being a little bit over 4-inch. It's really almost neglectable. The big difference is actually in the thickness of the blades. This one is the thickest with 4.2, 4.3 millimeters. This one is 3.7, and I believe this one is 3.2. In my opinion, knives within that 3 to 4 millimeter range is actually good for bushcrafting, and everything over 4 millimeters starts to go towards survival. But that is just my opinion. So this knife, for me, the Nordic Knife Design is already bordering that almost survivally like thickness. But still, it is small enough and light enough to be useful as a bushcraft knife anyway. The blades, well, as you can see, there are some flavors here. These are 2 drop points and a spear point. This is called a Trapper, so I don't know, they chose for that spear pointy blade, and I really like that. It's a little bit different than the other knives that I have. They usually all have drop points. Now this one, the Nordic Knife Design, also has the beautiful black finish, and of course the curly birch on this one is standard. On the other knives you can vary a little bit in handle materials, etc. Let me say something about the price, because the Brisa is the most expensive, so I would put that last. And the I believe it's somewhat like this, where the Joker knife and the Nordic Knife Design, this one is 125 euros in the Netherlands. The Joker is anywhere between 70 and 130-ish. So maybe, this is the cheapest, if you can get it cheap. Then this one, and the Brisa, 155 euros, is by far the most expensive. But this is the cheapest version with the green micarta. And of course in N690 steel, because you can also get it in Elmex and other steels, I believe. This one is, I believe, always in 80 chrome V2, and the Joker knife is in 14C28. I don't think I've seen it in another steel. But all around, I say value for money in terms of the sheet, the handle, all around 14C28 steel. The Joker knife is actually the sort of like the best buy for value. I would say if you want a knife that really bites and really leans more towards that really heavier bushcrafting stuff, batoning, making bigger projects, then this knife is actually a good choice, because it really wants to cut. It bites and it keeps cutting, and of course very tough. And unfortunately, but the Brisa, in my opinion, it's not a bad knife. Not at all. It's a great little knife. It cuts, it does everything. It's beautiful, nice 90-degree spine. I find the handle a little bit too thin. So if you get it, if you want, maybe you can get it with liners as well, giving it a little bit more volume. But I find the handle too thin. The same problem I actually had with the real steel bushcraft knife. That the handles were too thin. You feel like you're not holding anything, and when you start fatiguing a little bit and working, you really feel that problem. You have to squeeze it too hard to keep it in your hand. So all in all, end of the story, I would say I would pick either the Joker or the Nordic Knife Design if you're looking for a Trapper design within these specifications. I will put a diagram with the specs right after this one, and you can see that all the specs are very, very similar. They all fall into that same category reach. I hope that it answers your questions, and anybody else that wanted to buy one of these knives, I hope I helped you make a choice. It's only a small test, but maybe it gave you some answers to help you buy and make a decision. All right, thanks for watching, and see you next time.